Hi guys, welcome back. It's the Daryl Solis show, as you know. And I'm just going to give you some insight today about what Perth is like, guys, from my own perspective, of course, from my own experience. So this is basically just giving you my first impression on Perth. I've used a lot of the, public transport. I've been around, I've met some people, I've heard their stories that have lived here way longer than I have. And yeah, I'm just going to give you some insight on what this place is all about. So I just came here about 4 weeks ago, and of course I've had a very positive first impression of Perth. The weather's been good, albeit quite windy all the time, but that doesn't bother me. It's quite windy where I'm from, so I'm kind of used to that. But the weather's been nice. It's the start of summer here, and we've had a few very hot days, but most of the time it's been pretty comfortable. But the sunshine is pretty strong here in Perth, so I'm constantly wearing sunscreen every day, which is just something I can't be bothered with, but it's actually something that you've got to do, especially if you're fair-skinned. So guys, Perth is a nice place. It's an organised looking city. It's well maintained. The infrastructure's there. There's a lot of people that live here. It's actually a lot busier than what I thought it would be. It's a small city, but it's just surrounded by suburban sprawl. Yeah, and I already knew that before I came here from doing all the research that I did. So the CBD area of Perth, when you're in there, you feel like you're in a city. It's pretty nice. You could compare it to other cities around the world, really. It's modern, it's busy, it's convenient. They have a good kind of transport system within the CBD area. You've got free buses and all that. It's a pretty nice place. There's lots of great restaurants. I've tried a lot of the different kind of Asian restaurants. I tried an amazing Japanese udon restaurant today, and it just felt like I was back in Japan. So right now I'm just here on a working holiday visa, so I'm here for 1 year. I'm not sure how long I'm actually going to stay, but I am in the process of setting up my life here, and I'm just going to see how it goes. Another great thing about Perth is just this surrounded by nature, guys. You've got beautiful nature everywhere, not to mention the beautiful beaches, the coastline. The Indian Ocean is absolutely beautiful, especially when it's just lit up with the sun. You may notice that it's a little bit overcast today. There has been some sunshine that's coming through now, but the weather is pretty predictable. Yeah, it's you've just got, every morning I wake up, the sun is shining, guys. It's absolutely beautiful. So when it comes to the CBD area, going back to that, there's lots of nightlife, restaurants, cafes, all pretty affordable actually. I don't think it's too expensive here in Perth. I've looked at the prices that I've paid for food, coffee, etc. when I'm going out, and guys, I know a lot of people say Australia's expensive. Compared to the UK, it is not. Yeah, Australia is definitely a bit cheaper than the UK. Not substantially cheaper, but it is definitely cheaper. You are paying about 10 to 15 pounds going out to a restaurant to eat. The udon I had today that only cost me about £10 or something like that. That's not too bad actually. Much cheaper in Malaysia, of course, but compared to the UK prices, it's definitely cheaper here. When it comes to the public transport here in Perth, it's not that spread out, but they do have a pretty efficient public transport system. Trans-Perth, they offer trains, buses. The buses go to the train stations, the trains just go into the CBD area and, along up to the other major stations among the suburban sprawl. Not that expensive, really. You can get something called a smart rider or a smart card or something, and that just basically you just top that up and you just tap it every time you go on a train or on a bus, and then you have to tap when you get off the bus. So it's pretty efficient. It's not too expensive, but of course it's not as spread out. There are some areas in Perth where the public transport does not actually reach, so this is definitely a city where you need to have a car. Maybe someday I'll get a car here when I'm, actually in employment, and actually if I'm going to be here permanently, I would get a car. But this is definitely a city where you need a car. I've already met some friends that have cars, and they couldn't live without their car here in Perth, guys. So, yeah. When it comes to the jobs again, the salaries are high, the work-life balance is very good here in Perth. A lot of people just actually really love working here in Perth. They enjoy it. You know, I've met people from all over the world that are working and enjoying life here in Perth. But that's not to say that they think it's a perfect place. I have had people saying to me that Perth is quite boring and they prefer the east coast of Australia. That's like Queensland. I actually have a friend that's moving back to Queensland. She's lived in Perth for quite a long time. She's not from Australia, but she has lived in Queensland before, and you know, for her, the east coast of Australia is much better, but I've not been over to that side of Australia yet, so I'm not sure. The supermarkets here in Perth, they're not bad. You've got Aldi here. If you're from the UK or Germany, then you know what that is. The supermarkets are pretty good. But they're not that cheap. Yeah, you are paying a pretty price for fruit and veg here. It's not cheap at all when it comes to buying like your apples and bananas, guys. Like I would say it's even a bit cheaper in the UK, funnily enough, for like, you know, your fruit and veg. But the produce is good, you know. I do go to the supermarkets, of course, a lot, and for what I pay, for what I get, it's really not too bad. I wouldn't say it's a rip-off, but it's definitely not cheap. Meat is very good. They've got a lot of Aussie beef, you know, Aussie chicken. It's actually pretty good, pretty high quality. I like it. I mean, I'm satisfied with the supermarkets here in Australia, for sure. On the downside of Perth, you know, I've seen a lot of degenerate behaviour. Yeah. Seen a lot of fights on the streets. I've seen people arguing with security in stores. I've seen like and you know, unfortunately you see like beggars on the streets, and you've got like drug addicts like just out of their mind on the streets. I've seen a fair bit of that, and that's pretty similar to back in the UK. Even my city of Edinburgh, I'm pretty sure it's worse down in like say London or something, but you know, you do have that similar degenerate behaviour here. Of course, I'm not saying all Aussies are like that, but it's similar to back in the UK. You've got like gangs of youth that are like patrolling the town in their like electric bikes and all that, and they're just like, got their balaclavas on. Like I've seen a bit of that, and wow, it just reminds me of like back in the UK. It's pretty similar, unfortunately. But overall, guys, you know, I've only been here for 4 weeks. Going from my experience, going from other people that I've met and hearing from their experience, Perth is definitely a good place to live. Like, I do like it here. The weather's great. You can get great food here, whether that's Asian or Aussie or like Western food or whatever. It's pretty good. It's a high standard here when it comes to their infrastructure. The place is pretty clean. It's pretty well kept. The CBD, you know, here in Perth, you've got a good nightlife here. I was like salsa dancing like last week with one of my friends. It was just absolutely amazing, guys. You know, you've got a diverse crowd here. You've got a lot of Latinas. You've got a lot of Asians. You know, you've got a lot of different people here from all over the world. You can meet lots of new friends here in Perth, despite it being an isolated city, you know, thousands of miles from anywhere else. You know, they've done something quite amazing here, guys. They've built a city in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and it works. You're also not too far from Southeast Asia. You're only a 3.5 hour flight from Bali. It's a pretty convenient place to base yourself. You should definitely come here to Perth. Come live here if your plan is to go to Australia. Try it out. A lot of people start on the East Coast. I'm here starting on the West Coast. But who knows, guys? I do like it here, and I'm just going to see what happens. I'm just living one day at a time here, seeing what happens, try to be productive, meeting new people, exploring the place, learning more about Perth. It's definitely an interesting place to base yourself. I highly recommend that you come here to Perth and check it out for yourself. So guys, if you've been to Perth, or if you live in Perth, if you're from Perth, let me know in the comments what you think about Perth. If you're coming to Perth, you know, you can put some questions in the comments, you know, me or someone else will get back to you on that. And stay tuned for more videos, guys. I am just documenting my journey no matter what situation I'm in. I'm going to be making videos every week, so you'll be updated on what I'm up to, where I'm at. Subscribe, guys, comment, and I'll see you in the next video.